This is my 8 places abroad you should not move in 2025 and why. Plus 3 you should actually check out or you might actually enjoy living in today. You've all seen the dream videos, the move to Mexico and live like a king for $1,000. I'm guilty of it myself. I've been there. The Thailand on $10 a day headline on YouTube. The Portugal is the new California, but without the taxes, right? The incredible deals, the can't miss country. And yeah, of course, I've made a few of those too because they hit right with the algorithm. That's just how YouTube works. But here's what almost nobody tells you, at least not until you've already sold your house and gone all in, quit your job, and landed overseas with a suitcase full of expectations. There are places you should definitely not move to in 2025, especially if you're American. And not because they're necessarily dangerous. There's other factors that come into play. And it's not because of scams or sort of tricks or any of that tourist crap, but this is because the country has actually changed and what you may have heard before might not be true anymore. The costs are up, the locals have pushed back, the vibe just isn't what it once was. It's soured. So you don't want to be late to the party if the clock's already struck midnight on your dream destination. For a lot of us, we only get one shot at this. So each of these places used to be a cheap tropical escape for tens of thousands of Americans, but now they've become overcrowded Instagram fantasies packed with digital nomads or Western prices, inflation, or protests of people shouting "Gringo, go home." So before you pull the trigger, let's get real about the cost of living abroad. In this video, I'm gonna walk you through my 8 countries that might not be worth it anymore. And after, I'll mention 3 that I think are still safe bets for expats and retirees looking to live abroad today. But first, let's talk about the places where retirees are getting priced out of a real quality lifestyle. Places where expats are being quietly asked to leave or loudly and violently told to get out. Places that look great in postcards and in YouTube videos, but feel very different on the ground when you're actually there. We'll keep it simple, a few pros and a couple cons for each of the countries, and then I'll give you my opinion. No rose-tinted tourist goggles, just what's in the news right now, today. Number 8 is my old hometown, Mexico City. I was there in the 2010s. We're gonna start with this, the darling of digital nomads, CDMX, Mexico City, El Monstruo. The pros are somewhat obvious. It's a huge, sprawling, incredibly diverse megacity, like nowhere else on Earth. In just 3 or 4 hours, a simple flight from Denver or Calgary, and you're there. There's nothing like sipping mezcal on a leafy sidewalk patio cafe in Roma Norte, or listening to a jazz trio play under a jacaranda tree at the Old Legion. The food is world class. There's Michelin stars, there's street tacos, there's art, there's energy. It's the full-on cultural capital of Latin America and the go-to hub for many remote workers. Fast internet, decent healthcare, and easy flights back to the States. But here's the problem. First, rising resentment. You don't need to search hard to find that locals are calling out foreigners for gentrifying entire area codes of the city. Renters are being evicted, Airbnbs and short terms are replacing homes, and there's graffiti that literally says, "This used to be our neighborhood." Second, safety is always a concern in Mexico. Whether CDMX is safer than other regions or states, it's not a crime-free bubble. Petty theft, kidnappings, and armed robberies happen, especially if you wander off the beaten track, or worse, if you live in an expat bubble and think you're immune to the violent realities of Mexico. Third, there's real price creep here. That $600 apartment you read about in 2019, the same one I paid $400 for 10 years before that, it's listed on Airbnb now for $1,500 a month, and it's booked solid through the high season. In my opinion, CDMX is still amazing, a one of one, but the word is out and it might not be welcoming you with open arms anymore. It certainly isn't the rambling old city of Jack Kerouac and William Burroughs and Naked Lunch or Tristeza that I fell in love with as a kid and a backpacker. Number 7 is Cape Town, South Africa. Stunning. It's one of the most photogenic cities on Earth, and I've often dreamed of hiking up its stunning hills above the ocean. A visit is on my absolute must-do bucket list. The pros are many. You've got the world-class wine, surf beaches, Table Mountain, and a lifestyle that feels almost Mediterranean for an absolute fraction of the cost. A villa with a pool and a view of the ocean, totally doable right now. But, and this is a big but, you know it always is, first, you've got to deal with load shedding. Is load shedding. That's a fancy local term for scheduled power outages. You could be editing your vlog, showering before a date, or just making your morning smoothie when the lights go out, and they're going to be out for hours. This isn't just here and there. Second, there's massive inequality. Cape Town is one of the most divided cities you'll ever see. You're either in a gated community with armed security or you're locked outside. And the contrast is stark and very visible. Living behind walls would change how I feel personally about freedom. And that history of apartheid is still very much present. Third, crime, not just pickpockets, carjackings, home invasions, armed robberies, gun crime. It's not a guarantee, but it's not rare. SA is a high-risk move, and this is one of the few cities on Earth with a higher murder rate and more gun crime than American places like St. Louis and Detroit. That said, statistically, it is still safer and less murderous than many of the Mexican towns we talk about. In my opinion, Cape Town is paradise, but with a bit of a panic button. It's worth a visit, but probably no more for most of us. 6, Barcelona, Spain. The pros, don't even get me started. I freaking love this town. I can't get enough of it. It's got Gaudi architecture, Mediterranean beaches, jamón ibérico, and chilled vermouth served at a standing bar that's been there since before your grandfather was born. Barcelona is magic. The ocean vistas from the top of the city's hill, majestic. You can walk to the beach, you can visit the Picasso Museum, and you can be home by siesta for a little nap. I mean, it is a great town, but there's a big catch. 3 of them, actually. First, the over-tourism thing. The backlash is real. The locals aren't just annoyed. They're furious. They're fed up. They're protesting signs. They're hanging notices from their balconies. Tourists go home. They don't want you there. Airbnbs have displaced thousands. Whole blocks have lost their soul. The last time I was there in 2022, even El Raval, the old Chinatown, felt super gentrified and overcrowded. Second, there's real language friction. You thought you'd be practicing your Spanish? Well, good luck, man. It's cattle in here and locals take it seriously. Learning Spanish might still leave you feeling like an outsider or worse, a colonizer. And third, exploding costs. The digital nomad visa sounds great until you realize that rent prices for foreigners are double what locals pay, and they're climbing. El Raval apartments have more than doubled in the decade between my last 2 visits to Barcelona, and they're just going up. In my opinion, Barcelona is an ancient, beautiful behemoth, but maybe a bit too edgy for most expats. At least for now, you should probably steer clear. I do have a sweet spot for the town in my heart. 5, Lisbon, Portugal. The word is out, it's beautiful. Lisbon was the first EU capital to go all in on welcoming digital nomads, and it worked. Maybe too well. The pros are clear: gorgeous, great weather, incredible seafood, beautiful tiled buildings, and a pretty easy visa if you make even modest remote income. But there's so many expats and transients and travelers, and they brought their problems along for the trip. It's a real part of living in Portugal today. First, there's a housing crisis. Local families are being pushed out of city centers. Prices have skyrocketed. Entire blocks have been procured for short-term rentals. And now the government is scrambling to backtrack and reverse course and fix what they've sown. But resentment is boiling over in this town. Second, it's overrun. Let's just face the fact. Everyone and their podcast co-host moved here in 2021 after the lockdowns ended. Even traditional cafes can feel like co-working spaces now. English has become the dominant language in entire districts, for better or worse. Not Gibraltar, but it's lost some of that local flavor that you were probably hoping for if you were dreaming of retirement in Portugal. Third, There's real infrastructure strain. Public hospitals and transit systems are groaning. If you think Lisbon with its gorgeous libraries and bookstores is still a sleepy secret straight out of the pages of Harry Potter, it's not. The word is out on Portugal, and J.K. Rowling isn't writing in the quiet corner anymore. In my opinion, Lisbon is lovely, but you're no longer early. You're late to the party, and you might just be part of the problem in 2025. Number 4, I get complaints that I don't talk about it enough. This one's close to home, literally and emotionally, the Philippines. I've always had a soft spot for the Philippines and everything Pinoy, but it's a definitely maybe for me. A beautiful, complicated maybe. Why does it make the list? I get it. Some of you are probably already freaking out. You're in the comment section right now. Everyone speaks English. People are warm. They're open. They're genuinely kind. The islands are jaw-dropping. And I mean that. You can still find a beach that feels like it's yours and yours alone. And the cost's insanely low relative to the rest of the world. A couple $1,000 a month and you're living like a laid-back Bond villain with a hammock and maybe even a helper or a famous Filipino maid. But you know it's coming. First, let's talk infrastructure. This is like a serious pothole problem. The electricity, optional. The roads are maybe paved creatively. The internet, I hope you like spinning wheels and drop Zoom calls. If you work online, bring a backup SIM, backup routers, backup sanity, or maybe just drop $600 on Elon Musk's Starlink and pray the weather is good and it doesn't rain. Second, probably too much politics and policing for my liking. Corruption isn't a glitch, it's the operating system in the Philippines. The legal system, let's say you don't want to try it. Some provinces are perfectly fine. Others, you better have local friends and local knowledge, and even the long stay visa situations got murky. That golden SRRB, it might be off the table or wrapped in new red tape for anyone like me retired under 50 or come with a serious price tag. And then there's the climate. Typhoons, floods, erosion. Sea level rise isn't theoretical here. It's taking bites out of the beachfront property every year, and that dream house on the sand might be driftwood by 2035. And I'm thinking long term when I'm talking retirement. In my opinion, visit, enjoy, maybe fall in love, snorkel, sing karaoke, but don't move your whole life there on a whim. For some Americans, it's definitely paradise, but not for me, at least not till the visa costs come back down for people under 55. 3, I got a sweet spot for this one. Costa Rica, pura vida. Gorgeous jungles, greenery, surf towns, chill culture, no army, great healthcare. I mean, too many pros. It's like the Switzerland of Central America. It is dreamy, and I have a ton of Canadian friends who winter there every single year. And if you've watched my other videos, you know it's hard to get friends to visit Southeast Asia. I mean, the flight time differences are real. But let's get honest about some of the other issues. The first is cost of living. Tamarindo, Santa Teresa, you're gonna pay $3,000 a month for a 1-bedroom with a broken AC. Imported food is super pricey. Electricity bills can shock you more than the outlet. A beachfront villa will set you back millions of greenbacked American dollars. Out of my range. Second, there's overcrowding. The best beaches are full of crypto bros and burnt out tech guys finding themselves. There's more yogis and surfers than Goa and Bali combined. They're stretching the resources and the infrastructure thin, and it seems like the clock's getting real close to midnight. Third, bureaucracy and traffic. You want to buy a car or get a driver's license in Costa Rica? Pack a sandwich, block a few days off the calendar. My Canadian friends spend all winter here loving it and all summer back home complaining they're entangled in the golden handcuffs of a jungle paradise. In my opinion, Costa Rica is still great, still beautiful, but not budget, not for beachfront or a quiet retreat. Number 2, you didn't think I'd really leave this one off the list, did you? Thailand. I lived there. I loved there, especially in Bangkok. You know, it's my Paris of Southeast Asia, and I still recommend Thailand for everyone. How could I not? But there are caveats to this beautiful country in 2025. The pros, too many to count. The food is unreal. The healthcare is affordable and dependable. You can get a $10 massage that makes you forget your own name and a condo for under $500 a month. And the culture, art, and class of a city like Bangkok is just straight up world class. But here's the rub. First, there's dual pricing. It's real. If you're a foreigner, you pay more. At temples, at hospitals, at government offices, it adds up, it gets annoying, and the banking system is remarkably bad for expats. Second, the visa games or shenanigans or whatever's going on, they just keep changing the rules. Some visa require bank deposits, some require school enrollments, some just disappear. Honestly, I can't keep track of the Thai bureaucracy. Every time I update my cost of living abroad guides, they seem to make more changes. It's really like a game of cat and mouse. Third, there's tourist fatigue here. Let's not pretend. Locals are polite, but they're tired of you. They're tired of too many people, especially in Chiang Mai and the Southern Islands. And if it's not Khao San Road or Soy Cowboy, Pattaya has got to be the loser back home expat burnout capital of the world. There's just a couple too many lady bars in my opinion. It's still a strong option, but the golden age of Thailand retirement might be behind us. But you know, Phuket, Carpe diem. If it's your dream, I've been there, I loved it, and I have no regrets about my time in Thailand. All right, before we get to the last one, let me give it to you straight. Most of these places are sick of you, and I admit I'm part of the problem. This list is like my dirty laundry. It's all the places I partied and backpacked and crisscrossed in my 20s and 30s when I was first learning the cost of living abroad and having the literal time of my life. Seriously, you and I and the millions of others who came looking for the good life on the cheap with remote jobs and wide eyes, the warnings are for us. The gringo go home signs, the chants, the protests, they're real. There's a changing subcurrent and feeling around the world, and like, fair enough, I get it. But the digital nomad and golden visas, they're disappearing, getting stricter, or just straight up more expensive. And the rent in a lot of these countries, it's up 200%. That's real, those numbers don't lie. So in my opinion, if you're arriving today in 2025 and thinking you're early to this lifestyle abroad, you might already be too late in many of the places we've talked about in this video. But you know there's a but. There's a little bit more coming. So this begs the obvious question. Well, where should you go instead if nowhere on the list? I'm glad you asked. Thank you so much. I'm gonna give you 3 places I do recommend in 2025, and more importantly, for the next 5 or 10 or 15 years. These are the places that I think of when I think ahead to 2030, to 2040, to a place where I wanna grow old in a quiet, peaceful, beautiful villa. Number 3, you might question me on this, it's Cambodia. Cambodia is a wild card, and I kind of love it, but it's still a bit scary on the outskirts. It is the absolute wild west of Southeast Asia, extremely free and definitely not for everybody. Phnom Penh is growing fast. Siem Reap is more than just Angkor Wat now. It's cafe culture, music, and young creatives looking for the next up-and-coming spot. You can rent a decent place for $250, a tuk-tuk ride is $1, and a full local meal is a couple bucks. Like, these prices don't lie. Those numbers are real. The visa system is generous. Long-term stays are possible without acrobatics. People are curious, warm, and generally still welcoming of foreigners. They're certainly not burned out or bothered by foreigners like some of the neighboring countries in Southeast Asia. So if you've got like a pioneer spirit, Cambodia can be your first big life abroad adventure, but just don't forget parts of it are still dangerous and it is the Wild West. So make sure you pack a fistful of dead presidents in case you need to buy your way out of trouble. Option 2, Malaysia. I can't leave it off the list. I'm in love. I'm serious. Now we're talking infrastructure, we're talking order, we're talking calm, we're talking clean city streets right in the heart of tropical Southeast Asia. KL feels like Bangkok's quieter, more livable cousin. Fast trains, great airports, amazing food. The MM2H program, Malaysia My Second Home, offers real retirement options, even if they're a bit pricey for some. Penang and the Cameron Highlands are favorites for foreign retirees. They have a slower pace, cheaper rents, and English-speaking locals who are generally welcoming and appreciative. And it's also one of the best countries in Southeast Asia for healthcare, with costs that won't bankrupt you and services that won't kill you. Malaysia still offers real affordable luxury right now for retirees looking for that perfect place to retire abroad. Finally, you know, the ringer, my home place, my love, my Vietnam, number one. I saved the best for last, or at least my favorite place to live abroad. It might not be yours, that's fine. This video is always just my own opinion. And Vietnam isn't just cheap, it's the best value. Da Nang gives you beaches, fast Wi-Fi, and an expat scene that isn't too loud yet. Hanoi gives you history, colonial influenced cafes, and a rich vein of Viet culture. Saigon gives you, or at least me, a buzz like no other. A balloon rip of excitement and energy. It's hustle culture and business conducted on the back seat of a motorcycle. You can still live well on $1,000 a month. That ain't hype, that ain't fake, or ridiculously well on $1,500 a month. Private hospitals are solid. The food is delicious, healthy, and cheap, and the locals are still curious and welcoming of foreigners with genuine smiles and intrigue. If you're thinking of moving to Vietnam right now in 2025, I made an easy entry point move to Vietnam masterclass in 60 minutes so you don't get stuck or screwed while you're trying to figure it out over here. It's just $49.95 and you can start watching it right now. It includes answers to all my frequently asked questions from subscribers and members, housing options, healthcare, banking, dating, and how to set up your new life in Vietnam for the first 30 to 180 days on the ground. If you're curious about Vietnam and want to know if it's the right move for you, click the link in the description and start watching my 60-minute Move to Vietnam masterclass right now. Look, I want to be clear. I don't hate these 8 countries. In fact, I love most of them, or I loved living and traveling in them back in the day, and I'll always have my memories of the good years in these countries. But if you're planning on living abroad in 2025 and for the next decade or longer, you need to look past the rose tint to the changes that are happening in the world. And you have to ask yourself, is this place still affordable? Is it still welcoming? Is it still sustainable for the next decade or 2 of my life? Because God forbid, if you're gonna retire, let's hope you got 10 or 20 good years left. And if not, go somewhere else on the list. The good life is still out there. It's just that you've gotta find the right place for you. And in fact, it might just be waiting for you in Southeast Asia or on a beach in Vietnam right now. I'm Evan A. Click this video to learn more about life in Vietnam, or this one if you're curious about retiring in all of the different countries in Southeast Asia. Thanks so much for watching.